The rain fell on Manhattan like a judgment. Gabriel Russo stood in the alley behind Fifth Avenue, his Tom Ford suit soaked through, blood mixing with rainwater on his white shirt. The sirens were getting closer. Maybe 2 minutes, maybe less. He held Lucia Moretti against the brick wall, not threatening, protecting. Her dark eyes were wide with terror. Her hands trembled against his chest. She was trying to push him away and pull him closer at the same time. The human paradox of fear and trust. "Listen to me," Gabriel said. His voice was low, urgent, the kind of voice that made men move and women pause. "When they ask, you don't know anything. You never saw the ledger. You don't know where I hid it. Understand?" Lucia's breath came in short bursts. "I'm not lying for you." Something in Gabriel's chest tightened. This woman, this impossible woman who had walked into his life 3 days ago carrying nothing but bread and courage. She was going to get herself killed. "You're not lying for me." He leaned closer, close enough that he could smell her fear mixed with something else. Flour. She always smelled like flour. "You're surviving. There's a difference. Your father understood that. I'm trying to make you understand it too." The sirens screamed louder. Lucia's jaw set, that stubborn jaw that reminded him so much of Antonio. Antonio Moretti, who had been his father's best friend. Antonio Moretti, who had died 25 years ago, protecting a secret that was about to destroy them all. "My father died because he told the truth," Lucia whispered. "Your father died because he told the truth to the wrong people at the wrong time." Gabriel's hand moved to her face. His thumb traced her cheekbone. "I won't let you make the same mistake." The first police car skidded into the alley mouth. Red and blue lights painted their faces. "Trust me," Gabriel said. "Just this once. Trust me." Lucia held his gaze for 3 seconds that felt like 3 years. Then she nodded. The title card appeared in the darkness. 72 hours earlier, the Silver Crown restaurant occupied the corner of Madison and 63rd like a diamond in a steel setting. From the street, you couldn't see inside. The windows were tinted. The door was unmarked except for a small silver plaque that read, "By reservation only." Inside was a different world. Lucia Moretti knew every inch of that world. She had spent 3 years learning its rhythms, where the marble floors were slick from decades of polish, which chandelier crystal threw rainbows at exactly 11:30 when the morning sun hit it right, the specific creak of the service door when it needed oil. She knew it all because invisible people notice everything. At 5:45 on Tuesday morning, Lucia pushed through the service entrance. The kitchen was already alive. Ovens heating, prep cooks chopping, the smell of bread baking and coffee brewing, and something expensive simmering in copper pots. "Table 7 needs water set up," Benoit called without looking up. The head chef was French and high-strung and brilliant. He treated his kitchen like a battlefield. "Table 4 needs the full place settings, and Lucia, try to look professional today. Please." Lucia nodded, said nothing, moved through the kitchen like smoke. Professional meant invisible. Professional meant her uniform one size too large, so it hung shapeless on her small frame. Professional meant her dark curls pulled back so tight her scalp ached. Professional meant no makeup, no jewelry, no personality. Professional meant safe. She grabbed her apron from the hook. The fabric was worn, soft from washing. On the back, hidden from view, her grandmother's handwriting was still visible. Faded blue ink from 20 years ago. "Be brave, Piccola Fantasma." Little ghost. Nonna Caterina had called her that. Her little ghost. The girl who could disappear in plain sight. Lucia had thought it was a term of endearment. Now at 23, she understood it was a warning. In the dining room, morning light filtered through floor-to-ceiling windows. The Silver Crown didn't look like a restaurant. It looked like a stage. Baccarat crystal chandeliers worth more than most people's houses. Tables carved from Italian marble. Each salt shaker was Cristofal silver. $400 for salt. The men who dined here checked Patek Philippe watches that cost more than Lucia made in 2 years. The women carried Hermès Birkin bags that cost more than her annual rent. This wasn't a restaurant. This was a cathedral of wealth. And Lucia was the lowest-ranking priest. "Lucia," the voice made her shoulders tense before she turned. Douglas Warren stood by the hostess station. The manager was 48 and silver-haired and wore a Tom Ford suit like armor. His Rolex date just caught the light. $15,000 on his wrist. Lucia had looked it up once. She'd been curious. Now she wished she hadn't. Yes, Mr. Warren? Table 7 needs water. Table 4 needs bread. He walked toward her, each step deliberate. And Lucia, for God's sake, can you at least try to look presentable? We have standards here. His hand landed on her shoulder. The grip was just tight enough to hurt, just subtle enough that no one else would notice. The Russo family is coming tonight, Douglas said. His breath smelled like expensive coffee and mint. If you embarrass me, you won't just be fired. You'll be blacklisted from every decent establishment in Manhattan. Do you understand? Yes, sir. Good. He released her shoulder. Stay in the back tonight. Victor and Margot will handle the VIP section. You stick to overflow. We can't risk you anywhere near the Russo table. He walked away. Lucia stood there for 3 seconds, counted them. 1, 2, 3. Then she moved. The water pitchers were in the service station. Heavy glass, cold against her palms. She filled them with practiced efficiency, added exactly 3 ice cubes to each. Not 2, not 4, 3. That was the standard. In her pocket, her phone buzzed. A text from Sophia, the other junior waitress. Did you hear? Don Marco Russo is coming tonight. Like the Don Marco. Hasn't been to Manhattan in 3 years. Something big is happening. Lucia's hand stilled. Don Marco Russo. The name hit her like a slap. She set down the pitcher carefully, pulled out her phone with shaking hands. Typed back, "Why is he coming?" The reply came fast. IDK, but head chef is freaking out. Says last time Don Marco came to Manhattan was 1998, the year her father died. Lucia's left hand moved unconsciously to her shoe, to the worn leather of her work flat, to the place where something small and silver was hidden beneath the insole. A key that her grandmother had pressed into her palm 3 months ago on her deathbed. For emergencies, Luce mia, Nonna Caterina had whispered. Her voice was already fading. Cancer had taken everything but her eyes. Those dark eyes that saw too much. When you see the wolf, you'll know. You'll know what to do. What wolf? Lucia had asked. But Nonna was already gone. Now standing in the cold morning light of the Silver Crown, Lucia understood. The wolf was coming tonight. Gabriel Russo's name arrived at the Silver Crown 3 hours before he did. Lucia heard it whispered at table 3. 2 tech billionaires in their 40s, discussing a real estate deal over $1,200 bottles of wine. I've been trying to get a meeting with Gabriel Russo for 6 months. The first billionaire's voice carried. He controls half the construction permits in the Northeast. If he doesn't approve your project, it doesn't get built. I heard he's different from his father, the second said. Don Marco ruled with fear. Gabriel rules with precision. Colder somehow. More dangerous. Lucia refilled their water glasses. They didn't look at her. They never did. At table 5, a hedge fund manager was saying the same name. Gabriel Russo restructured the family business 5 years ago. Legitimate on paper. But everyone knows the old connections remain. You don't walk away from that world. You just put on a better suit. Douglas gathered the staff at 4 o'clock. His face was pale. Listen carefully, he said. Gabriel Russo is 35 years old. He's bringing his father tonight. Don Marco Russo. This is unprecedented. This is important. The VIP section is completely off limits except for Victor and Margot. He looked directly at Lucia. You will stay in the back. You will not approach the Russo table. You will not make eye contact with Don Marco. Clear? Everyone nodded. Douglas wasn't done. There's also a child, Gabriel's niece, Sophia Russo, 9 years old. She's been living with him since his sister died 3 years ago. Treat her with respect, but do not engage unless spoken to. In the kitchen, Benoit was having a breakdown. Everything must be perfect. If the risotto is oversalted, we're dead. If the steak is cold, we're dead. Don Marco Russo hasn't left Staten Island in 3 years. Something is wrong. Something is very wrong. Lucia stood into the corner. Her hands were steady. Everyone else was panicking, but her hands were steady because she understood something they didn't. Men like Don Marco Russo didn't care about salt in the risotto. They cared about respect. They cared about honor. They cared about old debts and older grudges and the weight of history that most people couldn't see. Her father had taught her that. Antonio Moretti had been a baker's apprentice who became something more, something that got him killed. Lucia had been 7 when they told her about the warehouse fire, the terrible accident. No witnesses, no evidence, but Nonna Caterina never believed it. Your papa died protecting someone, Nonna had whispered on long Brooklyn nights. Someone powerful, someone who should have protected him back. Who? The wolf, Piccola, always the wolf. Now the wolf was coming to dinner. At 7:30, the regular clientele started arriving. Lucia watched them through the service station window. The billionaires and CEOs and politicians. They all looked the same, confident, entitled, comfortable in their power. At 7:45, something changed. The conversation stopped mid-sentence. Forks paused halfway to mouths. Everyone suddenly became very interested in their phones. Douglas stood at the front entrance. His face had gone from pale to ghost white. The gazelles were clearing out, because the lions had arrived. The heavy oak doors opened at exactly 8 o'clock. 4 men entered first. They moved like a single organism. Dark suits, earpieces, hands that stayed near their jackets. The lead bodyguard was maybe 40, with a scar across his knuckles and eyes that cataloged every exit, every window, every potential threat in 3 seconds. Lucia watched from the shadows by the service station. Her heart was hammering. She pressed herself against the wall, invisible. Then the child entered. Sophia Russo was small for 9, dark hair and neat braids, a simple dress that probably cost more than Lucia's entire wardrobe. She clutched a stuffed rabbit. The toy was worn, clearly beloved, clearly necessary. The child's eyes were huge, frightened. A man's hand rested on her shoulder, protective, gentle. Gabriel Russo. Lucia's breath caught. He was tall, maybe 6'2", broad-shouldered in a midnight blue suit that moved like water when he walked. Not handsome in the classical sense. His face was too angular, his jaw too sharp, but there was something about him that made you look twice, made you unable to look away. His dark hair had touches of silver at the temples. Premature, the kind of silver that came from stress, not age. His eyes were storm gray, cold. But when he looked down at the child, something warmer flickered there. Something almost human. On his left wrist was a silver Rolex. Vintage. 1985 model. Lucia recognized it because her father had worn the same watch. She'd seen it in old photographs. The watch that had disappeared after his death. The watch that Gabriel Russo was wearing right now. The child tugged his sleeve, whispered something. Gabriel knelt. His hand cupped her face. His voice was too low to hear, but his expression was gentle, patient, the kind of gentleness that didn't match the rest of him. Then he stood. The cold mask returned. The final figure entered. Don Marco Russo was shorter than his son, older, shrunken by age but not diminished. He wore a fedora and the cashmere coat. His cane was carved ironwood with a wolf's head handle. He walked with a specific limp, favoring his left leg. Lucia knew that walk. Nonna Caterina had described it 100 times. He carries Sicily in his bones, that one. You'll know him by the way he moves, like a man bearing the weight of mountains. The restaurant held its breath. No forks clinked, no glasses chimed. Even the ambient music seemed to lower. The only sound was the rhythmic tap of Don Marco's cane on the marble floor. Tap, pause, tap, pause, tap. Douglas rushed forward, bowed so low he nearly hit his head on the hostess stand. Don Marco, Mr. Russo, it is the greatest honor of my life to welcome you to the Silver Crown. Don Marco didn't acknowledge him, just kept walking. Gabriel's voice was silk over steel. The table, Douglas. Is it ready? Of course, the finest table, completely private. Douglas was sweating through his expensive shirt. This way, please. They moved toward the VIP section, a raised platform separated by velvet ropes. The table was set for 6, even though only 3 would be dining. The empty chairs were a message, a reminder. We could invite you to sit, or we could destroy you. Your choice. Fresh white roses adorned the center. Sophia's favorite flower. Someone had done their homework. Don Marco took the head of the table. Gabriel sat at his right, Sophia between them, protected. The child pulled out a coloring book, started drawing with intense concentration. "What are you drawing, Bambina?" Don Marco's voice was rough, aged, but when he spoke to the child, it softened. "A dragon," Sophia said, "to protect mommy in heaven." Don Marco's hand trembled as he touched her hair. His eyes glistened. "Your mama is very proud of you." In the shadows, Lucia watched this moment, saw the humanity beneath the power, saw the old man's grief, saw the way Gabriel's jaw tightened when his niece mentioned her dead mother. These were not monsters. These were men carrying ghosts, just like her. The first waiter to approach the table was Chad, 26 years old, cocky, good at upselling champagne to tourists, terrible at reading a room. He strutted up to the VIP platform with a bright smile. "Good evening, gentlemen, and hello, little princess." Don Marco's shoulders stiffened. Gabriel's eyes went cold. Chad was oblivious. "Can I start you with cocktails? We have an excellent selection of premium vodkas." Don Marco's hand stopped moving. He'd been buttering his bread. Now the knife was frozen midair. "You approach a table," Don Marco said slowly, "before the Don removes his hat." Chad blinked. "I'm sorry, I don't understand." "Leave." Gabriel's voice could have frozen water. "Now." Chad backed away. His face had gone from confident to terrified in 3 seconds. He nearly tripped over his own feet. Douglas rushed over, grabbed the second waiter. Margot was 32 and experienced and scared. "Just serve them. Don't talk unless spoken to. And for God's sake, serve from the right." Margot approached with a water pitcher. Her hands shook slightly. She poured for Don Marco first. From the left side, it happened so fast that most people missed it. Don Marco's hand shot out, grabbed her wrist. The movement was a blur. The water pitcher rattled. Some spilled on the white tablecloth. The restaurant went silent. "In my house," Don Marco said, his voice rising, "you serve from the right. The left hand is for betrayers and cowards." Margot's face was white. "I apologize, Don Marco. It's restaurant policy to serve from the left for safety." Don Marco stood. His chair scraped back. The sound was like a gunshot. "Policy?" His voice filled the room. "I come here to honor a dead friend, to share a meal with my son and granddaughter. And you serve me with the traitor's hand?" Gabriel tried to calm him. "Papa, she didn't mean any disrespect. This place has no memory." Don Marco's cane slammed into the floor. "No soul, no respect. Antonio died for honor, and this is how we remember him? With policy?" He turned toward the door. Sophia started crying. Quiet tears. The kind of tears that break hearts. No, please don't be mad." Don Marco's face crumpled. But pride was stronger than love. "We're leaving, Stelina. This place is not worthy of us." Gabriel stood, torn between his father and his niece. He picked up Sophia, held her close, her small arms wrapped around his neck. Her tears soaked into his expensive suit. The restaurant was in chaos. Security guards moved forward. Douglas was frozen by the hostess stand. Other diners watched with horrified fascination. Don Marco walked toward the exit, his limp more pronounced, the cane-tapping angry rhythm. In the shadows, Lucia made her decision. Nona's voice was clear in her head. "When you see the wolf leaving hungry, Luce, you must offer bread. Not because he deserves it, because you are better than his hunger." Lucia grabbed the rustic bread from the staff meal area. The real bread, the honest bread, not the fancy sourdough they served to millionaires. This was crusty and imperfect and smelled like home. She grabbed a small dish of plain olive oil, not the truffle-infused nonsense. Plain, green gold, the kind her grandmother had made. Douglas tried to stop her. "Lucia, what are you doing?" She shook him off, didn't answer, kept walking. Her sensible work shoes clicked on the marble floor. Each step was a gunshot in the silence. Every eye in the restaurant turned to watch. The invisible girl was suddenly very visible. The lead bodyguard stepped in front of her, blocked her path. Lucia looked him in the eye, didn't stop walking. Said in Sicilian, a language she wasn't supposed to know, Il pane è sacro, fratello. Bread is sacred, brother. The bodyguard's eyes widened. He stepped aside. Don Marco was at the door, his hand on the brass handle. Gabriel beside him with Sophia in his arms. Lucia walked past them, set the bread basket on the table. Not in the center. That would be presumptuous. She placed it directly in front of Don Marco's empty seat. She poured the oil into a small dish. Her hands were steady even though her heart was trying to escape her chest. Then she did the unthinkable. She reached out and moved Don Marco's water glass 3 inches to the right, aligning it perfectly with the knife, the old Sicilian table manner, the way it was done in the villages before the world forgot. The restaurant gasped. This could be taken as insult, or as perfect knowledge. Lucia stood there, small and trembling. She clasped her hands in front of her apron, dropped her chin in the gesture of respect, took a breath that might be her last, and spoke in a language that had been dead for 40 years. Vostra Eccellenza Don Marco, benedica me, lupani e caudu, mangia e scogli l'uduluri chi pesa sul vostro cori. The words hung in the air like smoke. Your Excellency Don Marco, bless me. The bread is warm, eat and forget the sorrow that weighs on your heart. The effect was instantaneous. Don Marco froze. His hand fell from the door. He turned slowly. His face had drained of all color. He stared at Lucia like she was a resurrection. Gabriel's eyes narrowed. Dangerous. Calculating. His hand moved toward his jacket, toward where a weapon would be. What? Don Marco whispered, his voice trembling. Did you say? Lucia didn't retreat. She knew the rules now. She'd crossed the line. The only way was forward. She spoke again in the same dialect. I said, the bread is warm, Don Marco. It had bad luck to let warm bread go cold while anger heats the blood. Don Marco's cane dropped. It clattered on the marble, loud in the absolute silence. The old man walked toward her. Each step took a year. His eyes never left her face. He was scanning her, looking for ghosts, looking for answers in her bone structure, her eyes, the shape of her mouth. He stopped 3 feet away, reached out a shaking hand, stopped just inches from her face, as if afraid she would disappear if he touched her. Where, he asked, his voice breaking, did you learn that tongue? Nobody speaks the Alberici of the valley anymore. They're all dead or Americanized. Lucia's eyes filled with tears. My grandmother taught me, Don Marco. Nonna Caterina. She said it was the only way to speak to people and to men who think they are God. A pin drop could have been heard. Don Marco swayed. Gabriel was there instantly, supporting his father's elbow. His eyes were on Lucia, suspicious, fascinated, something else he couldn't name. Your grandmother, Don Marco whispered. What was her name? Her full name? This was the dangerous part, but Lucia had gone too far to stop. Caterina Moretti, the baker's daughter, the one who disappeared in 1974. The name hit the table like a grenade. Don Marco's knees buckled. Gabriel caught him, eased him into the nearest chair. The old man's face was gray. His breath came in gasps. Caterina, he said. The name was a prayer and a curse. The baker's daughter, the one who ran. She didn't disappear, Don Marco. She ran. She came to America. She baked bread in Brooklyn for 30 years until she died. Gabriel was standing now, fully alert. Moretti, your grandmother was Caterina Moretti. Yes. Which makes your father, Gabriel's eyes widened, Antonio Moretti. Lucia met his gaze, held it. Antonio Moretti was my father. The restaurant might as well have been a morgue. Don Marco's hand gripped the table edge. His knuckles were white. Your father, Antonio. He was my consigliere, my best friend, my brother. His voice broke on the last word, and I let them destroy his name. I let them call him traitor. For 25 years, I believed the lie. Tears streamed down the old man's face, unashamed, public, the kind of tears that powerful men never shed. He didn't betray you. Lucia's voice was steady, even though her whole body shook. My father died protecting you, protecting your family, protecting the honor you taught him mattered more than life. Gabriel's hand moved to his father's shoulder. His gray eyes were locked on Lucia. Not suspicious anymore. Something had shifted. Recognition, maybe, or respect. Don Marco looked up at Douglas. The manager was cowering by the hostess stand. You! Don Marco's voice had returned, still broken but commanding. This girl, she's not a waitress tonight. Tonight, she sits with us. Douglas's jaw dropped. Sir, that's against policy. Staff cannot sit with... Gabriel's voice cut through, quiet, deadly. Douglas, my father just invited a guest to dinner. Are you telling Don Marco Russo no? Douglas paled. No, of course not. Miss, please sit wherever you'd like. Lucia stood frozen. Gabriel walked around the table, moved like smoke and steel. He pulled out the chair between himself and his father, looked at Lucia with those storm-gray eyes. Lucia Moretti. His voice was low, intimate, dangerous. Nobody says no to Don Marco. He paused, studied her face. And I really want to know how a 23-year-old waitress knows a dialect that hasn't been spoken outside Sicily in 40 years. He gestured to the chair. Please, sit. Lucia looked at the chair, knew it was a trap. By sitting there, she was entering their world, exposing herself, painting a target on her back. But she also looked at Don Marco, saw the hope in his ancient eyes, saw the tears, saw him looking at her like she was a saint returned from the dead. She looked at Sophia, the child's big eyes curious, innocent, holding her stuffed rabbit. She looked at Gabriel, the dangerous prince, with his father's watch and secrets in his eyes. She untied her apron, let it fall, smoothed her skirt with trembling hands, and sat down at the table of the Mafia king. The dining room erupted in whispers. Phones came out, photos were taken. This would be in the tabloids tomorrow. The mystery waitress dining with the Russo family. Lucia sat ramrod straight, her hands folded in her lap. She felt every eye on her, felt the weight of the moment pressing down like gravity. Don Marco reached across the table, took her hand. His grip was surprisingly strong. Tell me, he said. His voice was raw, urgent. Tell me everything about Caterina, about Antonio. Tell me about the last 25 years. Tell me about my friend. Lucia opened her mouth to speak, but before she could, the heavy oak doors burst open. 6 men walked in, leather jackets, jeans, too casual for the Silver Crown. They were loud, Russian accents carrying across the room. At the center was a man in his early 50s, graying temples, expensive watch on his wrist, Patek Philippe Nautilus, $150,000 of casual flex. He spotted the Russo table. His face split into a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Alexei Petrov walked straight toward them. Don Marco, Petrov's voice boomed. I didn't know you were dining in Manhattan tonight. What a pleasant surprise. He stepped onto the VIP platform without invitation. His men fanned out behind him. Gabriel stood slowly, buttoned his jacket. The movement was deliberate, a tell, something about to happen. Don Marco didn't turn around, kept holding Lucia's hand. Petrov's eyes landed on Lucia. He froze. Something flickered across his face. Recognition, fear, calculation. And who is this lovely creature? Petrov asked. His voice was light, but his eyes were sharp. New girlfriend, Gabriel? You've been so isolated since your sister died. Good to see you socializing. Gabriel's jaw clenched. Alexei, you're interrupting a private family dinner. Family dinner? Petrov laughed. But I thought I was family. After all, your father and I go back, what, 30 years? I was there when Antonio Moretti died. Tragic accident. He looked at Lucia again, stared too long. You look familiar, Petrov said. Have we met? You look like someone I used to know. Lucia's voice was steady, impressive given the fear. I don't think so. Petrov circled the table, like a shark, testing, probing. No, strange. I'm very good with faces, especially faces of people who might cause complications. He reached toward Lucia's hair. Gabriel's hand shot out, caught Petrov's wrist mid-air. The grip was iron, bone-grinding, audible. Touch her, Gabriel said, his voice deadly calm. and you lose the hand, then the arm, then everything that matters to you. Petrov grimaced, tried to pull free. Gabriel's grip didn't budge. Protective, Petrov said through gritted teeth. Very protective. She must be special. He finally yanked his arm free, rubbed his wrist. Tell me, Don Marco, Petrov said. Who is she? Don Marco finally turned, looked at Petrov with eyes like black ice. She is a guest at my table, and she is of Sicilian blood, the blood of Corleone, the blood of Antonio Moretti. The words landed like stones in still water. Petrov's face went through several emotions. Shock, fear, then something darker. Antonio Moretti, Petrov repeated slowly. I didn't know Antonio had family. You didn't know many things, Alexei, Don Marco said. Perhaps it's time you remembered your place. In the silence that followed, Lucia whispered something. She didn't mean to speak, but the words came anyway, in the old dialect. Cui disturba lupani, mori di fame. He who disturbs the bread dies of hunger. Don Marco's smile was cold, terrible. Exactly. He nodded to his guards. Escort Mr. Petrov out. This is family time. He is not family. Petrov backed away, but his eyes stayed on Lucia. The look was a promise, a threat. We'll speak again, he said. I'm sure of it. Manhattan is a small town for people like us. He left with his men. The doors closed behind them. The restaurant slowly started breathing again. Gabriel sat down, looked at Lucia. His expression had changed. The suspicion was mixed with something else now. Respect, concern, something that might have been the start of protection. That was Alexei Petrov, Gabriel said. He runs the Russian operations on the docks, and now he knows you exist. Lucia's hands were shaking now. The adrenaline crash was hitting. Is that bad? She whispered. Gabriel's jaw tightened. It's worse than bad. If Petrov thinks you know something, he won't stop until he gets it. Or until you're dead. Don Marco squeezed her hand, which is why you'll stay with us tonight, at the compound, where it's safe. I can't. I have work tomorrow. You have a death warrant now, Gabriel said bluntly. Petrov doesn't make empty threats. You're not going back to whatever apartment you live in. You're coming with us. End of discussion. Lucia looked at him, at his storm gray eyes, at the watch on his wrist that had belonged to her father, at the way he held his niece close, at the old man who had cried for a friendship dead 25 years. She had walked into the wolf's den carrying nothing but bread, and now she couldn't leave. Okay, she whispered. Okay. Outside in a black Mercedes across the street, Alexei Petrov sat watching the restaurant. He held an old photograph in his hand, black and white, 1985. Three men with their arms around each other, laughing, young, Don Marco, Alexei Petrov, and Antonio Moretti. Petrov looked from the photo to the restaurant window, to the silhouette of the girl sitting with the Russo family. He pulled out his phone, dialed a number. It's her, he said in Russian. Antonio's daughter. After all these years, she's here, and she's with them. A voice on the other end asked a question. I don't know what she knows yet, Petrov said, but we can't take chances. Find out where she lives, tonight. He crushed the photograph in his fist. 25 years, he whispered. 25 years, and the past comes back. Antonio, you should have stayed dead. He drove away into the Manhattan night. Inside the Silver Crown, Lucia Moretti sat at a table with monsters and men. She broke bread with a Mafia king, and she wondered if her grandmother's prophecy was curse or salvation. The wolf had arrived, and the little ghost could no longer hide. The bread sat between them like a treaty. Don Marco broke off a piece, dipped it in the green gold oil, brought it to his mouth with trembling hands, closed his eyes as he chewed. It tastes like 1965, he said. His voice was thick, like before everything went wrong. Like home. Lucia watched him. This old man who had been a legend in her grandmother's stories. The wolf, the king, the man who could end lives with a word. He looked so human in this moment, so heartbreakingly human. Nonna taught me that recipe, Lucia said. She said it was the only bread Antonio ever loved. She said he would come home after long nights and eat it still warm from the oven. Said it made him remember who he was before the world taught him to be something else. Don Marco opened his eyes. They were wet. Antonio was the best man I ever knew. Better than me, better than all of us. Gabriel leaned forward. His gray eyes were intense. Papa, what exactly happened in 1998? You never told me the full story. Just that Antonio betrayed us, that there was evidence. Because I was ashamed, Don Marco said. Ashamed that I believed the lie. Ashamed that I didn't question it. Antonio came to me 3 days before he died. He said there was a traitor in the organization. He said he needed time to gather proof, and God forgive me, I told him to bring me proof first. Talk later. The old man's hand clenched into a fist. That night he died, and the next morning the evidence appeared. Wire transfers in Antonio's name, FBI documents with his signature, witness statements, all pointing to Antonio as the informant. I believed it. I believed he betrayed us. Sophia tugged on Gabriel's sleeve. She had been quiet, coloring, but she was listening. Children always listened. Uncle Gabe, she said in her small voice. Why are you sad? Gabriel's face softened instantly. I'm not sad, Stelina. I'm just remembering. Remembering makes you sad sometimes, Sophia said with the wisdom of 9-year-olds who had lost their mother. That's okay. Mommy said being sad is how we keep loving people after they're gone. Lucia's heart cracked a little. This child, this brave little girl who understood grief better than most adults. Your mommy was very wise, Lucia said. Sophia looked at her, really looked at her. You have kind eyes like mommy's. Uncle Gabe doesn't let people with unkind eyes near us. Gabriel's hand moved to Sophia's hair, protective, gentle. That's right, and Lucia has very kind eyes. Their gazes met across the table. Something passed between them. Recognition, maybe, or the beginning of trust. Don Marco cleared his throat. Lucia, what did your grandmother tell you about Antonio's death? Lucia took a breath. This was it, the moment she'd been preparing for her whole life without knowing it. Nona never believed the official story. Warehouse fire, accident. She said my father had discovered something. Someone in your organization was betraying you to the FBI. He was gathering evidence, and then he died. Who was the traitor? Gabriel asked. His voice was sharp, focused. She never told me names, said it wasn't safe. But 3 months ago, when she was dying, she gave me something. Lucia's hand moved to her shoe, unconscious. She said when the time was right, I would know what to do. What did she give you? Don Marco leaned forward. Before Lucia could answer, Douglas appeared, nervous, sweating. Mr. Russo, I'm terribly sorry to interrupt, but shall I bring the first course? Gabriel didn't look at him. We'll order when we're right, Daddy. Douglas, give us privacy. Of course, sir. Take all the time you need. Douglas scurried away. The restaurant was nearly empty now. Only a few tables remained. Everyone else had left. The Russo presence had that effect. What did Katerina give you? Don Marco asked again. Lucia, reaching down, unlaced her left shoe slightly, pulled back the insole. There was a small compartment beneath. She extracted something wrapped in faded cloth. A silver key. She set it on the white tablecloth. It gleamed under the chandelier light. Small, but heavy. Important. Gabriel picked it up, examined it. His face changed. This is a key to First National Bank downtown. Box 404. He looked at Lucia, then at his father. Papa, this is the box that's been sitting in my account for 25 years. The one with restricted access. The bank said only family or authorized party could open it. Don Marco's breath caught. Antonio put something in your bank? He must have, Gabriel said. His mind was working. You could see it in his eyes. He knew if he died, the evidence would be safe in the last place his killer would look, under the protection of the family itself. What's in the box? Sophia asked. She was still coloring, but listening to everything. The truth, Lucia said. Nona said it contains the truth about who really betrayed your family. The weight of that statement settled over the table like snow. Don Marco's hand shook as he reached for his wineglass. Tomorrow we open that box, we get the evidence. We clear Antonio's name. And then, Gabriel's voice was cold, dangerous. What happens to the person who framed him, who killed him? Then we do what should have been done 25 years ago, Don Marco said. We eliminate the traitor. Lucia's stomach tightened. This was what justice looked like in their world. Not courts, not lawyers, just cold finality. I'm coming with you, Lucia said. To the bank. I'm coming. Gabriel shook his head. Absolutely not. You're not trained. You're not. Lucia cut him off. Her voice was steady but fierce. He was my father. For 25 years, I watched my grandmother cry herself to sleep because her son was called a traitor. For 25 years, I've lived with whispers and shame. Tomorrow I'm ending it, with or without your permission. The fire in her eyes surprised them both. Gabriel studied her for a long moment. Then a small smile touched his lips. Barely there, but real. You're stubborn. I'm a Moretti. It's genetic. Fine. Gabriel's smile faded. But you follow my lead. Understood? I'll follow your lead until I don't. Don Marco laughed. Actually laughed. The sound was rusty, unused. She reminds me of Katerina. That woman was stubborn as a mountain. It's how she survived. They left the Silver Crown at 10:30. Douglas tried to apologize, to explain, to salvage something from the chaos of the evening. Gabriel handed him a card with a number written on it. $20,000, compensation for the disturbance. And Douglas, Gabriel said. His voice was quiet but absolute. Lucia Moretti no longer works here. She's under my protection now. If anyone asks about her, you know nothing. Clear? Crystal clear, sir. 3 armored Range Rovers waited outside. Black, bulletproof glass. Each one cost more than most people made in 3 years. Overkill? Lucia whispered. Necessary, Gabriel replied. After Petrov's visit, we're not taking chances. Matteo, the lead bodyguard, opened the door of the middle vehicle. Miss Moretti, please. Lucia slid into the back seat. The leather was soft, expensive, the kind of soft that only came from animals that had been treated better than most humans. Gabriel climbed in after her. Close. The space suddenly felt smaller. He smelled like expensive cologne and something else. Something clean and masculine that made her pulse quicken. Sophia was in the 3rd row, already falling asleep, exhausted from the evening's drama. Don Marco rode in the lead vehicle. Matteo had insisted. Better security separation. The convoy pulled away from the curb. Manhattan at night was a different animal, all lights and shadows. Beauty and danger in equal measure. They rode in silence for the first 10 minutes. Just the hum of the engine, the whisper of tires on wet asphalt. It had started raining. Light, gentle. Gabriel broke the silence. Are you scared? Lucia didn't lie. Terrified. Good. Fear keeps you sharp. Overconfidence gets you killed. He was looking out the window. Not at her, but she could feel his awareness, the way his body angled slightly toward her. Protective without being obvious. What was my father like? Lucia asked. Before, when you knew him. Gabriel was quiet for a moment, remembering. I was 10 when I first met Antonio. He'd just become my father's consigliere. I thought he was the coolest person I'd ever seen. He had this way of being completely calm in chaos, like nothing could touch him. He turned to look at her now. When I was 19, I did something stupid. Picked a fight with the wrong people. Got myself cornered in an alley. 3 guys with a nose I was going to ding. Lucia held her breath. Antonio appeared out of nowhere. Talked them down. Didn't throw a punch. Just talked. And they left. After, he looked at me and said, being strong isn't about fighting, Gabriel. It's about knowing when not to. That lesson saved my life more times than I can count. He sounds like a good man. He was the best man. Gabriel's jaw tightened, which is why I need to know. Why did Petrov react that way when he saw you? He recognized something. What does he think you know? I don't know what I know, Lucia said honestly. Nona gave me the key 3 months ago, told me to keep it safe. Told me that when the wolf came, I'd understand, that's all. The wolf. Gabriel's smile was bitter. Is that what Katerina called my father? Not just him, all of you. She said the world was full of wolves pretending to be men, and that the only way to survive was to be smarter than them. Smart enough to walk into a mafia dinner with nothing but bread. Smart enough to know that wolves respect courage more than fear. Gabriel laughed, low and genuine. You're either very brave or very foolish. I haven't decided which. Can I be both? I suppose you can. The radio crackled, Mateo's voice. Boss, we have a tail. Black sedan, 3 cars back. Gabriel's entire demeanor changed, relaxed to alert in half a second. How long? Since we left the restaurant. Gabriel looked at Lucia. His eyes were serious now. Don't be afraid. We're prepared for this. Who is it? Petrov's men. Probably. He wants to know where you're going, where we're keeping you. What do? We let them follow. Gabriel's voice was calm, matter of fact. My father taught me something. The enemy you can see is less dangerous than the enemy you can't. Let them watch. Tomorrow we end this. Lucia's heart was racing, but she kept her voice steady. You sound very sure. I am sure, because now we have something Petrov doesn't know we have. We have the truth, and truth is the only weapon that never misses. The Russo compound sat on a private peninsula in Staten Island. You couldn't see it from the road. 12-foot walls, cameras, armed guards at the gate. But inside was different. The house was large but not ostentatious. Stone and wood, clean lines. It looked like a home, not a fortress, though the security measures were unmistakable. Maria, the housekeeper, met them at the door. She was 60-something with kind eyes and hands that had seen hard work. Mr. Russo, Don Marco, and you must be Miss Moretti. She studied Lucia's face. Something flickered in her expression. Recognition. You have Katerina's eyes. I knew her. Before she ran. Lucia's breath caught. You knew my grandmother? Everyone in the village knew Katerina. Sweetest girl. Maria's voice dropped. Until she saw what she saw. Come, I'll show you to your room. Gabriel touched Lucia's arm. Light. Brief. Rest tonight. Tomorrow is going to be difficult. Lucia nodded. Let Maria lead her through the house. The guest room was on the east wing. Simple but elegant. A queen bed with soft linens. Windows overlooking the water. You could hear the ocean from here. Constant. Soothing. Maria replied to clothes. These were Isabella's, Gabriel's sister. You're about the same size. He said to give you whatever you need. Thank you, Maria paused at the door. That man, Gabriel, he's been dead inside since Isabella died. Walking, breathing, but not living. Tonight is the first time in 3 years I've seen something in his eyes besides grief. What did you see? Hope, child. He looked at you and I saw hope. Maria left, closed the door softly. Lucia sat on the bed. Her hands were shaking now that she was alone. The adrenaline was crashing hard. She just had dinner with the Mafia. She was sleeping in a dead woman's room. Tomorrow she was going to open a box that might get her killed. What was she doing? But then she thought of her father, Antonio Moretti, the man who had been called traitor for 25 years, the man whose name would be cleared tomorrow. That's what she was doing. She changed into the borrowed clothes, a simple nightgown, soft cotton. It smelled faintly of lavender and old memories. She tried to sleep, couldn't. Her mind was racing. Every sound was a threat. Every shadow was danger. At 2 in the morning, she gave up, padded downstairs in bare feet. The house was quiet, dark except for security lights. She found the kitchen by instinct. Big, professional, marble counters and commercial appliances. The kind of kitchen that could feed an army. She needed to do something with her hands. Something normal. Something that didn't involve keys and secrets and dead fathers. She found flour, yeast, salt, water, the basics. She started making bread. Kneading was meditation. Push, fold, turn, push, fold, turn. The rhythm was ancient, older than language. Her hands knew what to do without thinking. She was lost in it when she heard footsteps. Gabriel stood in the doorway, loose shirt, dark pants, hair slightly mussed. He looked younger like this, more human, less dangerous. In his hand was a glass of whiskey. amber liquid catching the low light. Couldn't sleep? He asked. No, you? I never sleep well. He walked into the kitchen, leaned against the counter, watched her hands work the dough. Antonio used to do this at 3 in the morning. When he was stressed, I'd find him in the compound kitchen, covered in flour. He said it was like praying, but with your hands. Lucia smiled. That's exactly what Nona said. She said some prayers are too deep for words, so you pray with bread. Why bread? Because it's honest. Flour, water, salt, time, you can't rush it. You can't fake it. It either rises or it doesn't. And if it doesn't, you start over. Gabriel took a sip of whiskey. Can people start over? Lucia stopped kneading, looked at him, really looked at him, saw the grief in those gray eyes, the weight he carried, the ghost he couldn't put down. I think people can start over, she said slowly, but they have to want to, and they have to be willing to let go of who they were. That's the hard part. What if who they were is all they know? What if they've been that person so long they don't remember who else they could be? He was asking about himself. She understood that. Then maybe they need someone to show them, Lucia said. Someone who sees who they could be, not who they've been. Gabriel set down his glass, moved closer. He was tall. She had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. He reached out, wiped a smudge of flour from her cheek with his thumb. The touch was gentle, careful, like she might break. You're not what I expected, he said. What did you expect? A victim, someone who needed saving, someone small and scared. I am scared, Lucia admitted, but you're not small. You walked into that restaurant with nothing but bread and courage. You spoke a dead language to a mafia boss. You sat at our table knowing it painted a target on your back. That's not small, that's... He didn't finish the sentence, but his hand lingered on her face. His thumb traced her cheekbone. Slow, deliberate. The air between them changed, charged, dangerous in a different way. Lucia's breath caught. Her heart was doing something complicated in her chest. Gymnastic, painful, exhilarating. Gabriel's phone buzzed, shattered the moment. He stepped back, pulled out the phone, read the text. His jaw tightened. Petrov's men are outside the gate, 4 cars, watching. The moment was gone. Reality crashed back. What do we do? Lucia asked. Bombing tonight. They can't get in. But tomorrow when we go to the bank. He looked at her. Tomorrow is going to be dangerous. I need you to promise me something. What? If things go wrong, if I tell you to run, you run. Don't look back. Don't try to be a hero. Just run. Lucia shook her head. I'm not leaving you. Lucia, I'm not leaving you, she repeated, firmer. My father died alone. I won't let you die alone too. Something in Gabriel's expression cracked, softened. You barely know me. I know enough. I know you raised your niece when you could have given her to relatives. I know you wear my father's watch like you're trying to keep his memory alive. I know you looked at me tonight like I was a person, not a waitress. That's enough. Gabriel stared at her for a long moment. Then he nodded. Okay, tomorrow we face it together. Together, he turned to leave, stopped at the door. Lucia? Yes? I'm glad you walked into that restaurant tonight, even if it complicates everything. I'm glad. He left before she could respond. Lucia stood alone in the kitchen. The bread dough sat on the counter, half kneaded, waiting, patient. She went back to work. Push, fold, turn, push, fold, turn, but her hands were shaking now, and it wasn't from fear. Dawn came gray and cold. Lucia had managed 3 hours of sleep. She woke to find clothes laid out on the chair. Practical, a pencil skirt, a blouse, flats. Someone had thought ahead. She dressed, braided her hair, looked at herself in the mirror. She looked different, older somehow, like the last 12 hours had aged her a decade. Downstairs, the house was already awake. The smell of coffee, voices in the dining room. Gabriel stood at the head of the table. Blueprints spread out in front of him. Mateo was there, 2 other men she didn't recognize. Don Marco sat at the far end, oxygen tank beside his chair. He looked frailer in daylight. The bank opens at 9, Gabriel was saying. We arrive at 10. Morning rush. We blend with the business crowd. Mateo, your team positions around the perimeter, 2 men inside, 2 outside, eyes on all exits. What about police? One of the men asked. Special Agent Torres is providing backup, quietly. He's been trying to get Petrov for years. This is his chance. Can we trust him? Torres is clean, one of the few. Gabriel looked up, saw Lucia in the doorway. His expression softened fractionally. Good morning. Morning. Coffee? He poured her a cup without waiting for an answer. Black, strong, perfect. Thank you. Don Marco gestured to the chair beside him. Come, child, sit. We're planning today's operation. Lucia sat, sipped the coffee. It was good, really good. The kind of good that only came from beans that cost more than seemed reasonable. The bank has standard security, Gabriel continued. Metal detectors, 2 armed guards, cameras. We go in clean, no weapons, no problems. What if Petrov is there? Mateo asked. He will be. Gabriel's voice was certain. He knows about the box. Antonio gave him authorization back in 1998. It was bait, a trap. Antonio wanted Petrov to know the box existed, wanted him to try to open it, but Petrov can't, not without the key. He looked at Lucia, which is why you're the most important person in this operation. You have what Petrov needs, which makes you the target. Then why bring her? Mateo asked. Not unkind, just practical. Because she's Antonio's daughter, she has the right to be there, and because... Gabriel paused, chose his words carefully. Because she's braver than all of us, and sometimes courage is the best weapon. Sophia appeared in the doorway, still in pajamas, rubbing sleep from her eyes. Uncle Gabe, are you leaving? Gabriel's entire demeanor changed, softened. He crossed to her, knelt. Just for a few hours, Stelina. I'll be back before lunch. Promise? Well, I promise I always come back. You know that. Sophia looked at Lucia. Are you going too? Yes. Will you keep him safe? He thinks he has to keep everyone safe, but sometimes he needs someone to keep him safe too. Lucia's throat tightened. This 9-year-old, this wise, wounded child. I'll keep him safe, Lucia promised. I swear. Sophia nodded, satisfied. She hugged Gabriel, whispered something in his ear. He smiled, kissed her forehead. Maria will take care of you today, Gabriel said. And Nona will be here too. Don Marco looked up. I'm coming. Papa, you're not strong enough. I'm strong enough for this. The old man's voice was steel. Antonio was my friend. I failed him once. I won't fail him again. I'm coming. Gabriel knew better than to argue. Okay, but you stay in the car. Fine. The convoy left at 9:30. Same formation as last night. Don Marco in the lead vehicle. Gabriel and Lucia in the middle. Mateo's team in the rear. The drive to Manhattan took 40 minutes. Rush hour traffic. Gray sky, rain threatening but not falling yet. Gabriel sat close to Lucia. Not touching, but present. She could feel the heat of him. The coiled energy. Nervous, he asked. Beyond nervous. That's normal. First time but always hardest. First time? First time walking into danger on purpose. After this, it gets easier. Or you get numb, I'm not sure which. Lucia looked at him. Do you ever get scared? Gabriel was quiet for a moment, honest. Every day, but fear doesn't stop me anymore. It just becomes part of the background noise. What do you fear? Failing Sophia, losing her like I lost Isabella, becoming my father before he learned to change. He paused. And now I fear something happening to you. The admission hung between them, raw, unexpected. We just met, Lucia whispered. I know, doesn't change it. His hand found hers, squeezed, brief but real. The radio crackled. Boss, we're being followed again. Same black sedan from last night. Gabriel's jaw tightened. Expected. They want to see where we're going. When we get to the bank, they'll make their move. What move? I don't know yet, but Petrov doesn't do anything without a plan. Stay close to me, no matter what happens. They pulled up to First National Bank at 10:15. Towering glass and steel. People streaming in and out. Lawyers, business people. Tourists exchanging their currency. Gabriel helped Lucia out of the car, his hand on her elbow. Protective, possessive. Mateo's team spread out. Two followed them inside. Two stayed with the cars. Two positioned across the street. The bank lobby was all marble and intimidation. High ceilings, the sound of shoes on stone, quiet conversations, the rustle of paper, the smell of money. A guard at the metal detector nodded to Gabriel. "Mr. Russo, good morning, sir." They walked through. Clean, no problems. The bank manager appeared. Nervous, sweating slightly. "Mr. Russo, Miss Moretti, right this way, please." He led them through a maze of corridors, downstairs, to the vault level. The air was cooler here, sterile. The walls were reinforced steel. This was where the real money lived, where secrets slept in numbered boxes. "Box 404, the manager said. "As you requested, though I should mention," he hesitated. "Mention what?" Gabriel's voice was sharp. "Mr. Alexei Petrov also has authorization on this box, per Mr. Moretti's instructions from 1998. He arrived 10 minutes ago. He's waiting inside." Gabriel and Lucia exchanged looks. The trap was sprung. "How did he know we were coming?" Lucia whispered. "Either he's been watching us or—" Gabriel's face darkened. "Or someone told him." The manager opened the vault room door. Alexei Petrov sat at a steel table, two bodyguards flanking him. He looked calm, confident, but his fingers were tapping the table. Nervous tell. He smiled when they entered. Cold, predatory. "Gabriel, Miss Moretti, I had a feeling you'd be here today." He gestured to the empty chairs. "Please, sit. Let's all find out together what Antonio Moretti left behind. After all, we're all family here, aren't we?" The vault door closed behind them with a sound like a coffin lid. Lucia's hand moved to her pocket, to the silver key that weighed nothing and everything. 25 years of lies were about to end, and whatever was in box 404 would either save them or destroy them all. Gabriel's hand found hers under the table, squeezed once. Together, his grip said, "We face this together." Lucia squeezed back. The bank manager approached with the lock box, set it on the table. "I'll need both keys, the client key and the bank authorization key." Lucia pulled out the silver key with trembling hands. Gabriel provided the authorization. Two keys, two different people, two different legacies meeting at one moment. The manager inserted both keys, turned them in sequence. Click. The box opened. Inside was a leather ledger, worn, old, 1998 written on the cover in faded ink. A cassette tape labeled "For Marco" in Antonio's handwriting. A sealed envelope addressed "To my daughter Isabella," and a smaller envelope addressed "To Gabrielle." 4 items, 4 truths, 4 ways the world could change. Petrov lunged for the ledger. Gabriel was faster, grabbed it first, flipped it open. His face went white as he read the first page. Lucia leaned in, saw the words, saw the dates, saw the names. Her father's meticulous handwriting documenting everything. Every betrayal, every lie, every death. And at the top of every page, one name repeated over and over. Alexei Petrov, FBI informant, badge number 7743. The truth had been hiding for 25 years. Now it was free, and blood was about to spill. The ledger lay open on the steel table like an autopsy report. Gabriel's finger traced down the first page. His voice was low, dangerous, reading aloud. June 12, 1995. Petrov meets FBI agent Morrison. Deal, immunity plus $500,000 for information. He turned the page. March 3, 1996. Petrov provides FBI with Colombo family shipment routes. Result, 12 arrests. Another page. January 15, 1997. Petrov identifies Antonio Moretti as threat. Plans to plant false evidence. Gabriel looked up. His gray eyes were ice. "You didn't just betray the family, Alexei. You murdered a man to cover it up." Petrov's face had gone through several colors. Red, white, gray. Now it settled on something desperate. He stood abruptly, his chair scraped back, metal on concrete. The sound was like a scream. That's fake. Forged. Antonio was trying to frame me. He was the informant. Not me. Gabriel kept reading. His voice never rose. That made it worse somehow. The calm before violence. April 3rd, 1998. Petrov orders hit on Antonio Moretti. Method, warehouse fire. Make it look like accident. Eliminate all evidence. Lucia's hands were shaking. She stared at the man who had killed her father. This man in his expensive suit with his expensive watch. This man who looked so ordinary, so human. Why? Her voice cracked. Why did you do it? Petrov's mask slipped. Behind the desperation was something else. Something that might have been grief. My daughter was dying. Cancer. I needed money for treatment. Your father, he pointed at Gabriel. Don Marco refused to help. Called it personal business, not family business. His voice broke. So I made a deal. The FBI paid. I gave them criminals, murderers, thieves, expendable people. But my daughter was innocent. She deserved to live. So you killed my father to save yours? Lucia stood, her small frame vibrating with rage. My father who had done nothing to you, who was trying to save you, to give you a chance to confess? Petrov's eyes were wild now. Cornered animal. Antonio found out, threatened to expose me. I begged him, told him about my daughter. He said, Petrov's voice turned bitter. He said honor mattered more than one life. Can you imagine? Honor. As if honor ever saved anyone. It saved you, Gabriel said quietly. For 25 years, Antonio's honor protected you, because he died before he could expose you. And we believe the lie you planted. My father mourned you as a loyal soldier while calling Antonio a traitor. Gabriel stood, moved around the table. Slow. Predatory. But here's what you don't know, Alexei. I've been recording this entire conversation. He pulled out his phone, set it on the table. The red recording light was on. Petrov's face drained of all color. Every word you just said, every confession, it's all here. Gabriel's smile was cold, and it's already uploaded to the cloud, already sent to Special Agent Torres, already on its way to every news outlet in New York. Petrov lunged, not at Gabriel, at Lucia. His hand caught her arm, yanked her in front of him like a shield. His other hand pulled a gun from his jacket. Small, compact, pressed against her temple. Nobody moves, Petrov gasped. Sweat poured down his face. Or I kill the girl. The vault room door burst open. Matteo and 2 guards rushed in, weapons drawn. The bank manager screamed, scrambled backward. Everyone back, Petrov shouted. I'm walking out of here with the girl. The ledger comes with me, or she dies. Gabriel's hands were up, placating, but his eyes were calculating, looking for angles, looking for openings. Alexei, you can't win this. The evidence is already out there. Killing her won't change that. Maybe not, but it'll feel good. Antonio took my daughter from me. I'll take his from him. The gun pressed harder against Lucia's temple. Cold metal, warm skin. Her heart was a drum, too fast, too loud, but she wasn't panicking. Strange, she thought she would panic. Instead, her mind was clear, crystalline. She could see everything with perfect clarity. The distance between Petrov and Gabriel, 6 feet, too far to reach in time. Matteo to her left, gun drawn, but he wouldn't shoot, couldn't risk hitting her. The bank manager cowering in the corner, useless. And Gabriel staring at her with an expression she'd never seen before. Terror, real terror. The kind that stripped away all pretense and left only raw humanity. Don't do this, Gabriel said. His voice was rough, pleading. Please take me instead. I'm worth more. I can get you out of the country. You can't give me back my daughter. Petrov screamed. Nobody can. His finger tightened on the trigger. Lucia moved, not away, into. She threw her head back. Hard, connected with Petrov's nose, heard the crunch, felt his grip loosen. She dropped. Let gravity take her. Three things happened at once. Petrov's gun went off. The bullet went high, shattered a fluorescent light. Glass rained down. Gabriel covered the distance in a blur, tackled Petrov. They went down in a tangle of limbs and violence. Mateo was there, pulling Lucia away, shielding her with his body. The fight was brief, brutal. Gabriel had 40 pounds and 15 years on Petrov, but Petrov was fighting with the desperation of a man with nothing left to lose. They rolled, grappled. The gun skittered across the floor. Gabriel got on top, rained down punches. 1, 2, 3. His knuckles split, blood on both of them now. Whose blood? Hard to tell. Boss, Mateo shouted. Enough. We've got him. Gabriel didn't stop. Couldn't stop. 25 years of rage poured out through his fists. Lucia's voice cut through. Gabriel, stop. He froze, fist raised. Petrov's face was a mess beneath him, barely conscious. Gabriel looked at Lucia, his chest heaving, blood on his shirt, his hands, his face. He's not worth it, Lucia said. Her voice was steady even though her whole body shook. My father died believing justice would win. Let him be right. Let Petrov rot in prison knowing that honor won. Not fists. Gabriel stared at her for 3 heartbeats. Then he lowered his fist, stood, stepped back. Mateo and the other guards restrained Petrov. Zip ties. Efficient, professional. The vault door opened. Special Agent Torres entered with 4 FBI agents. Flak vests. Weapons drawn. Official. Gabriel, Torres said. He was 38 and by the book. Step away from the suspect. Gabriel moved, hands up, compliant. Torres looked at Petrov, then at the ledger on the table, then at Gabriel's phone still recording. We have everything, Torres said. The recording, the ledger, 25 years of evidence. Mr. Petrov, you're under arrest for murder, conspiracy, racketeering, and acting as an illegal informant. 2 agents hauled Petrov to his feet. He sagged between them, broken. He looked at Lucia. His eyes were empty. My daughter's name was Anya. She was 8. She loved butterflies. And she died alone in a hospital room because I didn't have enough money. I'm sorry, Lucia said, in Man Infinite. But my father died alone in a warehouse fire, and my grandmother spent 30 years thinking her son was a traitor. Your pain doesn't justify mine. Petrov had no answer for that. They led him away. The vault room was suddenly quiet. Just breathing. Heartbeats. The aftermath. Gabriel turned to Lucia, crossed to her in 2 strides. His hands cupped her face, checking for injuries. Are you hurt? Did he hurt you? I'm fine. I'm okay. You're shaking. I know, but I'm okay. Gabriel pulled her against his chest, wrapped his arms around her. Tight, desperate. She could feel his heart hammering, could feel him trembling too. Don't ever do that again, he whispered into her hair. Don't ever put yourself in danger like that again. You would have done the same. That's different. How? He pulled back, looked at her. His gray eyes were raw, unguarded. Because I can't lose you. I just found you, and I can't lose you. Lucia's breath caught. Gabriel. Not here. He glanced at Torres and the remaining agents. Let's get out of here first. They gave statements, signed documents. Lucia watched them bag the ledger as evidence. Watched them take photos of the cassette tape and the letters. Torres approached. Miss Moretti, that was brave. Stupid, but brave. Thank you, I think. You'll need to testify. When this goes to trial, I will. And Mr. Russo, try not to beat suspects half to death. Makes paperwork complicated. Gabriel's smile was thin. I'll keep that in mind. Outside the bank, the morning had turned bright, sunny, like the world didn't know what had just happened, like violence wasn't part of its vocabulary. Don Marco waited by the lead car, oxygen tank beside him. When he saw them emerge, alive and whole, tears ran down his weathered face. Papa, Gabriel went to him, knelt. It's done. Antonio is cleared. Petrov is arrested. It's over. Don Marco's hands shook as he touched Gabriel's face. And the girl? Safe, she's safe. Good, good. The old man looked at Lucia. Your father would be proud, so proud. Lucia's composure finally cracked. She sank down beside them. Let the tears come. 25 years of tears. 25 years of shame and whispers and wondering. Done. Finally done. The news broke within hours. Alexei Petrov arrested, FBI informant. 25-year cover-up. Antonio Moretti's name cleared posthumously. The Russo family vindicated. It was everywhere, every channel, every newspaper. Social media exploded. The story had everything. Crime, betrayal, redemption, death. A mystery solved decades later. Lucia's phone wouldn't stop ringing. Reporters, journalists, true crime podcasters. Everyone wanted an interview. Everyone wanted her story. She turned it all off, went dark. Let Gabriel's people handle it. The compound became a sanctuary. For 3 days, she didn't leave. Didn't see anyone except the family. Gabriel, Don Marco, Sophia, Maria. On the 4th day, the lawyers came. They sat in Don Marco's study, oak and leather and the smell of old cigars. The lead lawyer was a woman in her 50s. Sharp eyes, sharper mind. Miss Moretti, your father's estate has been located. It took time. The accounts were offshore, hidden, protected by multiple layers of encryption. She slid a folder across the desk. Total value, $47 million. Lucia's vision went white for a second. What? Your father was Don Marco's consigliere for nearly 15 years. He was well compensated, but more than that, he was smart. He invested, he saved. Every penny went into accounts under your name. He knew he might not survive, so he prepared. Gabriel was beside him. His hand found hers under the table, steadied her. There's also a property deed, a vineyard in Sicily, near the village where your grandmother was born. It's been sitting empty for 40 years, but it's yours. Lucia couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. What do you want to do, bro? The lawyer asked. Saya. Lucia looked at the number on the paper. 47 million. Life-changing, life-altering. Blood money earned in a world she'd spent her life avoiding. I'm keeping 2 million, she said. Her voice was clear, certain. For personal use. The rest goes into a foundation. The Antonio Moretti Foundation. For wrongfully accused individuals. Legal defense, financial support, advocacy. Gabriel's hand tightened on hers. Proud. The lawyer nodded. And who will run this foundation? I will. Lucia looked at Gabriel. With Gabriel Russo as co-chair, if he's willing. Gabriel's eyebrows rose. You want me to help? My father trusted you. I trust you. And you need something to live for beyond the old business. This is it. This is how we honor the dead, by protecting the living. Gabriel stared at her for a long moment, then nodded. I'd be honored. Don Marco cleared his throat. His voice was weak, pero satisfied. Antonio would have liked that, would have liked it very much. The lawyers left, drew up the papers, made it official. Within a week, the Antonio Moretti Foundation was real. Registered, funded, ready to change lives. But something else happened in that week. Something Lucia didn't expect. She fell deeper in love with Gabriel Russo. It happened in small moments. The way he taught Sophia to make bread using the recipe Lucia had shown him. The way he visited his father every morning and evening, knowing the old man was fading. The way he looked at Lucia across the dinner table like she was the answer to a question he'd been asking his whole life. One night, a week after the bank, Lucia found Gabriel on the terrace. It overlooked the water. The moon was full, silver on black waves. He heard her approach. Didn't turn. Couldn't sleep. Too many thoughts. I know the feeling. Lucia stood beside him, close but not touching. What are you thinking about? Everything. Nothing. How my whole life I thought I knew who I was. What I was. And then you walked in carrying bread and I realized I didn't know anything. He turned to her. The moonlight caught his face. Made him look younger. Softer. 3 weeks ago, I was going through motions. Running the business. Raising Sophia. Existing. Not living. And now? Now I wake up and there's purpose, the foundation, helping people, seeing you every morning, watching Sophia smile again. It's like I remembered what it means to be human. Lucia's heart was doing dangerous things, acrobatic things. Gabriel, what are you saying? He reached into his pocket, pulled out a small box. Velvet, worn, old. Her breath stopped. Gabriel opened it. Inside was a ring. Art Deco, 1920s. Platinum band with diamonds arranged in a geometric pattern. Beautiful. Timeless. Perfect. This was my grandmother's, Gabriel said. His voice was rough, nervous. She gave it to Isabella, my sister. Isabella wanted Sophia to have it someday, but I think she'd want you to have it now. He took a breath. Lucia Moretti, 3 weeks ago I didn't know you existed. Now I can't imagine existing without you. You walked into my life with bread and courage, and you woke me up from a 3-year sleep. He dropped to one knee, right there on the terrace under the moon, with the ocean singing behind them. I'm not asking you to marry a mobster. That man is dying. I'm asking you to marry Gabriel Russo, co-chair of a foundation, guardian of a 9-year-old, amateur bread maker, and the man who is completely, terrifyingly, hopelessly in love with you. Tears streamed down Lucia's face. You're sure? I come with baggage, a complicated past, a tendency to walk into danger with nothing but baked goods. Gabriel laughed, rough, real. And I come with a 9-year-old who already loves you, a father who's dying, a past I'm still atoning for, and absolutely no idea how to be normal. We're perfect for each other. Lucia dropped to her knees, who met him at eye level. My father used to say something. He said, Isabella, you'll know you've found the right person when they make you braver than you are alone. Gabriel, you make me brave. She cupped his face, bloody and beautiful in hers. So yes, I'll marry you. He slid the ring on her finger. It fit perfectly, like it had been waiting for her all along. The kiss was soft, gentle, not desperate like the bank, not charged like the kitchen, just pure, true, the kind of kiss that promised forever. When they pulled apart, Gabriel rested his forehead against hers. I love you. I love you too. Behind them, a small voice said, finally. They turned. Sophia stood in the doorway, grinning. I've been waiting for you to ask her forever. Forever? Gabriel laughed. It's been 3 weeks. 3 weeks is forever when you're 9. Sophia ran to them, hugged them both. Does this mean Lucia is going to be my aunt? Or my mom? I'm confused. Lucia pulled the child close. Whatever you want me to be, Stelina. You want me to be, Stelina. I'm yours. Can I call you Mom? I don't remember my real mom very much anymore. And I think she'd want me to be happy. And you make me happy. Lucia's voice broke. You can call me whatever feels right. Mom, then. I'll call you Mom. The three of them sat on the terrace, a family built from grief and bread and courage. Not blood, but something stronger. Choice. The wedding happened 6 months later. Small, intimate, in Sicily. The Moretti vineyard had been restored. The stone farmhouse rebuilt, but keeping its soul. The grapevines were producing again. The first harvest in 40 years. 50 people attended. The entire village. Don Marco in a wheelchair but alive. Smiling. At peace, Matteo as best man. Sophia as flower girl. Maria crying happy tears. The ceremony was on a hilltop overlooking the Mediterranean. Golden hour light. The air smelled like lemons and salt in possibility. The priest spoke in Italian. Gabriel and Lucia said their vows in English and Sicilian, weaving old and new, past and future. I vow to be your courage when you doubt, Lucia said. Your strength when you falter. Your home when you're lost. Ti amo. I vow to be worthy of the bravery you've shown me, Gabriel said, to choose truth over lies, love over fear, you over everything. Ti amo. The kiss sealed it. Husband and wife, partners, equals. The reception was music and dancing and wine. Real Sicilian wine from grapes that had struggled and surrendered and became something beautiful because of it. Gabriel and Lucia's first dance was to an old song, something from the 50s. Something about amor and destino and forever. Sophia danced between them, laughing, free, a child who had known too much grief and was learning joy again. Don Marco watched from his chair. Matteo beside him. The old man's eyes were soft, satisfied. Matteo, Don Marco said, promise me something. Anything, Don Marco. When I'm gone, you protect them. Not because they're weak, but because they're the future. The good future. I promise. Good. Don Marco took a sip of wine, closed his eyes. Antonio, old friend, do you see this? Your daughter married my son. The families are united. The circle is complete. Rest now. We did it. Finally, we did it right. The sun set over the Mediterranean, orange and pink and gold. The kind of sunset that poets wrote about, that artists tried to capture, that lovers remembered forever. At the edge of the vineyard, there were two graves, fresh flowers on both, white roses and wild lavender. Antonio Moretti, 1968 to 1998. Beloved father, true friend, hero. Don Marco had paid for the headstone, had flown Antonio's remains from New York to Sicily, had buried him properly, with honor. Beside him, a smaller stone. Caterina Moretti, 1950 to 2023. Beloved mother and grandmother, she kept the faith. Lucia and Gabriel visited the graves as the reception continued behind them. Sophia between them, holding both their hands. Papa, Lucia said to the stone, I did it. I cleared your name. I fell in love. I'm happy. You can rest now. She placed bread on the grave, the traditional offering, still warm from the oven. Gabriel touched the stone. Thank you, Antonio, for trusting me with the watch, with the truth, with your daughter. I'll take care of her. I promise, Orsieme. Sophia put down a drawing, crayons on paper, three figures holding hands. Uncle Gabe, Lucia, and her, with wings drawn behind them. Angels, or maybe just family. Hard to tell the difference sometimes. They walked back to the reception, hand in hand. Three people who had been broken, who had found each other in the wreckage, who had built something new from the ashes. The music played, the wine flowed, the stars came out one by one like blessings. Don Marco died 2 months later, peacefully, in his sleep, surrounded by family. He went with a smile on his face. A man who had made terrible mistakes, who had spent his final years trying to atone, who had succeeded just enough. The funeral was massive. 5 families, federal agents, journalists, criminals, and cops standing side by side, all to honor the last of the old guard. Gabriel gave the eulogy. His voice was strong, clear. My father was not a perfect man, but in his final years, he did something extraordinary. He admitted he was wrong. He tried to fix it. That takes more courage than any battle. That's the legacy I want to carry forward. Not power, not fear, truth, and the willingness to change when truth demands it. The foundation grew. In the first year, they exonerated 4 wrongfully convicted individuals, helped 37 families fight corruption, funded 200 legal cases, changed lives. Lucia ran it with passion and precision. Gabriel provided resources and connections. Together, they were unstoppable. Sophia grew, thrived. At 11, she told them she wanted to be a lawyer, to help people like the foundation did. They signed her up for debate club, watched her blossom. On their first anniversary, Gabriel and Lucia returned to the Silver Crown. Douglas had transformed it. The restaurant was warmer now, less intimidating, more welcoming. The VIP section had been renovated. A wall of photos honored Antonio Moretti. Articles about Petrov's arrest, the foundation's successes. A plaque read, "The Moretti Room, in honor of Antonio Moretti, who died protecting the truth. Honor above all." "This room is yours," Douglas said. His voice was humble, grateful. "Forever, for meetings, fundraisers, whatever you need. Antonio deserves to be remembered here, where it started." That night, at the same table where Lucia had first sat with Gabriel, they shared a meal. Just the two of them. Bread and oil, wine and pasta. Simple. Perfect. "Do you think he'd be proud?" Lucia asked. "Papa, do you think he'd be proud of what we've built?" Gabriel took her hand, brought it to his lips. I think he'd say we earned it. The pain, the truth, the love. He'd say it was worth it. Was it worth it? Everything we went through? Gabriel smiled. Every second, because it led me to you. They left the restaurant at midnight, walked through Manhattan streets hand in hand. No bodyguards, no security, just two people in love in a city that never stopped moving. In her pocket, Lucia carried a photo, black and white, her father holding her as a baby. His smile was huge, proud, loving. On the back, in his handwriting, for my Isabella, may you always be brave. May you always find light in darkness. May you always know you're loved. Ti amo per sempre, Papa. Forever love. That's what they'd built. From bread and secrets and courage. From grief and rage and justice. From two broken people who found each other and decided to be whole together. The bread had risen. The ghosts were at rest, and the little ghost who had spent 23 years being invisible had finally stepped into the light. She was home. Not in a place, but in a person, in a family, in a purpose. The wolf and the ghost, the prince and the waitress, the past and the future. Together. Always together. The end came not with violence but with peace. Not with revenge but with redemption. Not with endings but with beginnings. And somewhere in Sicily, in a vineyard overlooking the sea, grapevines grew heavy with fruit. Bread baked in old ovens. Children laughed. And two stones stood side by side in the sunset, guarding nothing, holding everything. The truth had set them free, and freedom tasted like bread and wine, and love that would last 1,000 years. The end. In memory of all those who died protecting truth, may their courage echo forever. The Antonio Moretti Foundation, established 2024, lives changed 400 plus, cases won 127, and counting.